This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and Robert Dawes.
Oh, I managed to play the theme tune twice here somehow. I've still got it playing out. Can you hear it still?
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't hear it playing. No, I finished. I was playing drums on it. I mean, not literally, of course, air drums.
I had it playing in my ears twice there.
Did you really? Well, you see.
Yes.
Well, I didn't. I had it once, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
There we go.
Hello. How are you?
Hello.
All
I'm
right.
very well. Yes, that's a very confused start to an episode, but there we go.
Well, that's
when is it not?
Well, rarely, I think, is the R letter start to a word that I very much enjoy using. Rarely have I enjoyed a morning better than sitting in the end of my garden in the beautiful sunshine this morning, calm, the birds singing, the sun on my face, a nice cup of coffee by my side, and the knowledge that I would soon have to drag myself away into the darkness and long shadows of my study to talk to my dear friend Adam Croft. And anyone else who happens to be listening, actually. Hello, everyone. I hope you're okay, and I hope the sun is shining where you are, wherever that may be.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it's shining everywhere, I hope. We, confusing starts of the show there on the technical front. We almost had an even more confusing show, didn't we? Because I'm going to have to tell this story, Bob. I'm sorry, but shortly after we recorded last week's episode of Partners in Crime, you called me and you said, "Oh, I've got some terrible news. One of our previous guests, we shan't mention which one, has sadly died." And I said, "Oh no, that's terrible news." And we had a little discussion, and we said, "Well, maybe we should replay make this episode a tribute episode." And replay the episode that this particular guest was on, and dedicate the episode to them. I said, okay, that's good. Well, maybe we'll contact the family, you said, Bob, and express our condolences and let them know what we're doing and see if they have anything that they would like to contribute. And I'm pleased to say there was, and the contribution was to let us know that particular guest is actually perfectly alive and well and living just a few hundred yards down the road.
Yes, it was a bit of a shock to me, not to him. He had absolutely no idea what was going on. The fact is, I'd been and seen a couple of my friends in a socially distanced manner a couple of nights before a broadcast, and they said, "Oh, it's have you heard? The couple who live other side, the fence have died. You know, they both died within weeks of each other." And I happen to know this particular gentleman and his wife lived exactly where they were pointing, and I knew them, and they were, as I say, one of them was a guest. We're not naming names here.
No, you probably worked it out by now, but even so.
But and I went, "Oh God, that's," and I was, it was very upset about it, and I said, "When did this happen?" They said, "Oh, it's a good few weeks ago now." So I thought, "Oh goodness me, I had absolutely no idea." So it came as a bit of a shock after having that conversation with you, and decided to do a tribute to episode that I thought I'd phone up just see if I can talk to a relative or whatever, and the person in question picked up the phone and answered it, and I went, "Ah. Hello."
You're alive then?
I started to bumble. I said, "Oh, how are you?" I said, bracing myself for an answer, and and he said, "Oh, I'm very well, thank you." I said, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry." I said, bluffing away. I said, "I heard that you were a little poorly." I mean, you can't get more poorly than dead, can you? And I said, he said, no, I'm absolutely fine. I said, and your lady wife, "Oh yes, she's here. Sends her best regards." I went, ooh. Anyway, cheerio.
Oh, so yes, we turns out we do have to record an episode this week after all, because our inconsiderate previous guest is not dead.
Thank goodness.
No, indeed.
The world, as it was before, is a much better place for it. There's a fascinating gentleman and quite brilliant at the many things he does. But anyway,
I did try talking you into doing a tribute episode anyway, so that we didn't have to record.
Well, we're heading in that direction, because this is beginning to sound like here's my first thing this week is the BBC have reportedly launched an urgent probe this week after an upcoming line of Duty twist was accidentally revealed online. Well, we could be in the same situation. We'll have people tuning in to try and guess who we thought was dead, but wasn't.
Well, how did that leak online? I certainly don't want to give away what it is. I don't know. I don't want to know.
Well, I'll tell you what.
How
I've got
did
it
that
here. I'll read it out because it's by Kirsty McCormack in that famous red top of the Mirror. Says the BBC have reportedly launched an urgent probe this week after an upcoming Line of Duty twist was accidentally revealed online. A top actor will be joining the popular drama this Sunday evening when episode 5 of season 6 airs at 9 p.m. That's in the UK, of course. According to reports, the epic blunder was made by staff at BBC's Maestro, which sells online screenwriting courses. I've mentioned it over the weeks because Jed Mercurio sells his course on it, or the BBC sells it for him, and jolly good it is too. The Gaff, I love that. You know, you with a red top. The Gaff revealed the identity of a major celebrity appearing in Sunday's episode, and while the clip has now been removed, there are still some major hints about which famous face it could be. Those in the lineup include Richard Madden, Idris Elba, David Tennant, Riz Ahmed, and Robert Carlyle. Well, you don't have to look very far between those two. It's got to be between Madden and Carlyle, I suppose, because it's got to be connected to Joe Davison, played by Kirsty MacDonald, who is, of course, a Glaswegian. Or at the very least Scottish. According to The Sun, listen to this, Red Top quoting Red Top, the actor's face could be seen on a database being searched by AC12's Detective Inspector Steve Arnott, played by Martin Compston. And a short scene in which the character appears was also shown by accident. After each episode of Line of Duty, or Line of Dictionary, as I've christened it after the acronyms of the last few episodes, BBC Maestro shares excerpts from the show on social media, with creator Jed Mercurio narrating his thought process behind the plot. But it's believed that this week's users were able to access the course trailer for next Sunday's episode, including scenes featuring the new actor and a plot twist. According to The Sun, a source said this is an embarrassing and humiliating blunder. A lot of time and effort had gone into keeping the star's role a secret. Line of Duty goes to a lot of trouble making sure nothing gets out to ruin the surprise for viewers, but the BBC has shot itself in the foot on this and broken its own embargo. They also claim that Jed was good-humoured about the spoiler and told them the outstanding detective work of eagle-eyed Line of Duty fans has been awarded a glowing commendation from the gaffer himself, Superintendent Ted Hastings. Their call-up papers for AC12 are in the post.
Well, what choice does he have? He's got to respond like that, hasn't he, really?
So there we are. Well, obviously, Line of Duty is generating an awful lot of press coverage because, it always does, always has done, and it's because it's quite brilliant. Last week's episode, for those who've seen it, really ratcheted up the suspense and action, as Mr. Mercurio is wont to do, to great effect, and left us as ever on the seat, on the seat of our pants, on the pants of our seats, on the edge of our seats.
Yes, Jed Mercurio has left his pants on the seat.
It's early here for me. So that it's on the seat of his pants, not a dry seat in the house. Anyway, so we're all waiting, and the news is full of what's going on and who the relationship, because there's that wonderful thing with Ted Hastings where his favourite catchphrase, "Mother of God."
Yes, that ended the episode, didn't it, this week?
It ended the episode, and everyone was stopping the frame to see if they could see who the picture was that he was referring.
I did that. Yeah, no, it was Davison anyway, wasn't it? I think.
It was Joy Davis. Yeah. Joy Davison. Although a few people thought they saw some pictures of other people, but there we are. So it's great. I mean, this is fantastic. It's exactly what every broadcaster wants, and every maker of a series wants, is for a series to generate this sort of feedback from the public, and it's great news, and it's a great episode. So I'm glued to the box on Sunday evenings on the BBC in the UK at 9 o'clock to see the next episode and to find out exactly which of those actors aforementioned in the Mirror will be appearing. I do know they've revealed one actor, Anna Maxwell Martin, who's going to be in the Series 6 apparently.
Oh, really?
I thought we were episode 5 was, we are in season 6, so it must be. Oh, wait a minute, I'm getting confused here because there was another thing with pictures of Anna Maxwell, who played a leading character in the last series. So she was coming out. So maybe she's the mystery celebrity. I don't know. I'm getting confused by tabloids getting confused about confusions at the BBC. So there we are.
We've got a theme for this episode, haven't we? Confusion abounds.
Yes.
This week. It's a very odd week.
This week, confusion abounds most weeks for me, is well documented.
We normally keep it well hidden, but this week we're all over the place, aren't we?
I think the secret's out after 138 episodes.
Yeah, I think
Bewitched, bothered and bewildered doors.
But while we're talking about Line of Duty,
yeah.
Of course, extraordinarily popular. Everybody seems to love it, except for one person I noticed this week, which is Linda LaPlante, apparently. Friend of the show, not of Line of Duty, clearly, but of Partners in Crime. She was interviewed in The Independent and was asked if she watches other police dramas, like Line of Duty or Unforgotten. And the short answer was no. She says she's actually written off the crime TV genre, apart from Happy Valley, which she rates highly. She says, of the rest of them, I find the dramatic license preposterous, so I'm not interested. I watch a lot of true crime because for me that's far more informative. She said the main bone of contention for her is the excessive violence and youthful age of the DCIs. She says, you think, how can you be a DCI at your age? They're far too young. It's a very high rank and you need lots of experience. Helen Mirren, she says, was in her 40s when Prime Suspect started. And she said, you can't get to be a detective chief inspector in plain clothes at 22 and 23, which is largely true. But yeah, there are certainly exceptions. In fact, I buzzed a message to a friend of mine before the show who's in CID. And I said, look, what is the average age of DCIs? Is it unreasonable that they would be young? And he said, well, they are kind of getting younger because people are being fast-tracked and what have you. Generally 40s and 50s, plenty in their 30s, he said. And he said, bear in mind, many people join the police at 18, so you could be 12 years in by the time you're 30. Oh, wow, and it wouldn't be unreasonable after 12 years to have had a couple of promotions. So, yeah, I can see what she's getting at. I can certainly see what she's getting at, but it's not that unusual. She says she's had no staff because of the pandemic. I know, Bob, you've had to let a lot of your staff go as well.
Oh, I mean, I don't know how I've got by, quite frankly. I mean, the entire staff, the under parlour maid, the butler, certainly. I mean, it's just been the chauffeur. Chauffeur had to go, which was a real nightmare, let me tell you. I can
segue into that one. Chauffeurs do come up, actually, in a moment. Because
we'll segue away. I'm watching.
Well, Linda LaPlante, apparently, she's even doing her own cleaning as a result of the pandemic. Apparently, she says here she has a habit of polishing taps when she spots green gunge under the rim, and you certainly don't want to spot green gunge under your rim. Apparently, even the BAFTA awards are going green. She says you can't polish them. I don't know what they're made of. So there we are. We don't know what BAFTAs are made of.
Good.
She's still...
A little bit of brasso on your BAFTA.
She's still averaging 4 books a year, apparently, and says that's pretty much writing 24/7, I guess, when she's not wiping off green gunge and cleaning her taps and all the rest of it. Her new book, Judas Horse, is the second in the Detective Jack war crime series.
We reviewed it last week.
Yeah, after last year's Buried. It's about violent burglars terrorising residents in the Cotswolds, near to celebrity hotspot Soho Farmhouse. Things get heavy when a mutilated body is discovered, as well as a dead Labrador stabbed through the ear with an ornate letter opener. That's getting very Midsummer, isn't it? DC War and his team use an informant as a Judas horse, a term used for a Mustang stallion that is tamed and sent back to the wild to lead the rest of the herd back to the ranch. And on the chauffeur note, it says here, the article closes with a wonderful paragraph. For somebody who spends her life looking at criminal behaviour, Linda LaPlante is very trusting. She once hired a chauffeur, there we go, who knocked on her door brandishing a CV from a very posh person. It turned out he'd been in prison. Linda's quote now, so I said, all right, what were you in prison for? And he said, I'm a cat burglar. So I said, all right, I'll hire you.
Oh, fair enough, isn't it? She knows
her
onions.
She hired a chauffeur who was a cat burglar. It's a very Linda LaPlante world to live in, isn't it? I like a chauffeur that was a cat burglar.
Cat burglar, that's a very quaint old-fashioned word, cat burglar, isn't it? Now, it's a bit like the phrase you've just uttered yourself, which was like a carry-on phrase. I've just been terrorised in the Cotswolds. Yeah, well, I mean, she's a great writer and hugely prolific. And as I say, she is a great enthusiast. She's been on the radio recently, I was saying last week, when we were talking about her new book, which is a smasher. And there's no question, she's only 78, I think, a youngster, but energy
compared to you, yes,
is formidable. Oh, you wouldn't get Linda sat down at the bottom of the garden with a cup of coffee, sitting in the sun. No. Steam coming out of her ears, getting on with the fourth book of the year, and all credit to her, because she's one of the crime fiction greats in this country, on both television and, of course, in books. She just probably just doesn't like watching other cop shows, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, I don't like watching half of them, to be honest with you. So.
Well, that's obviously very interesting, because that segues very nicely. The segue, it sounds like a sort of a dodgy move in Strictly Come Dancing, doesn't it? And here we have Adam Croft doing the segue.
You wouldn't get me on there, that's for sure. A number of reasons. Partly not being famous is the main one, but also I can't dance, and I wouldn't want to even try.
No, I think I saw you doing a rumba in the garden a couple of years ago, and the memory of that is sort of stayed with me far longer than one would have hoped. Anyway, yes, so who gets it right? We're on a television thing this week. We'll get through to books in a minute. But on Monday night on ITV, and soon, as with all these television shows, no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to catch up with them at some point, if not straight away on a platform near you. But ITV have just shown taking the slot vacated by the quite brilliant Unforgotten, with a new series called Too Close. And who's got this right? Because it's got very mixed reviews. And this is interesting, he hopes, because I mean, reading a couple of reviews, and I'll just delve into a couple of them. The first one is rather negative. The second one, very far from being that. So here we are. This is in the Telegraph, and it starts with, "I wish it was before again," said Connie, the angsty anti-hero of Too Close ITV, "before I was skinned, boned and filleted. I wish it was before again too, before I had to watch an hour of this dreary, overcooked nonsense. Too Close, which continues tonight and tomorrow. It's run over 3 nights on ITV in the UK. Takes the blueprint of US drama The Sinner, which I did watch, which was absolutely sensational. An unlikely suspect commits a terrible crime. They and we don't know why. Only one heroic cop believes there's more to it than meets the eye. It makes one crucial mistake, however. Where in The Sinner you could not believe the protagonists had done it, and you rooted for them to find extenuating circumstances, here you longed for Connie to receive a 30-year stretch just to stop her wittering on." And it goes on in that manner, really not enjoying it at all, although giving fine commendations to both the leading actors, Emily Watson and Denise Gough. It ends up by saying the only truly effective scene had Connie laughing adorably at a photo of her daughter blooded and in an intensive care. "It's just a game," she tells Emma, the forensic psychologist who is interviewing her, counselling her, really. And for a second, we saw a glimpse of the depth of her suffering. Well, across the papers in The Guardian, Lucy Mangan has a completely different thoughts on this matter. "Is there a word for the unspeakable joy of coming across something that is simply better than it needs to be? I know we normally look to the Germans to have compounded something useful for us, but not usually in the realm of the positive." Well, I ask, because let's face it, you can get away. Yes, it is. You can get away with a lot in an ITV drama. It mentions another ITV drama, which she's less than complimentary about, but we won't go there. But Too Close, ITV's latest offering, wisely for such a claustrophobic piece, broadcast in its 3 parts on consecutive nights, will stay with you for the right reasons. She goes on to explain what grips in the opening episode is its emotional intelligence, the acuity of the writing, the credibility and fluidity of the performances, including the more peripheral characters, such as the protagonist's husbands or the smug guests round Emma's dinner table. Susan Tully, who many of us will know as an actress from EastEnders in its early days, now a very fine television director. Susan Tully's direction mirrors and enhances the web-like closeness of it all as social, physical, and mental boundaries are breached without suffocating the viewer. With Tully behind the camera, Clara Salomon as writer, Watson and Gough as leads, and the plot delivered entirely from their perspective, Too Close feels like the most woman-centered, woman-driven mainstream production we've yet seen. That's a bonus. Too Close is a fantastically compelling, brilliantly scripted whodunit, that is quantifiably better than it needs to be. We really do need a word for that. Well, that's very interesting. Two very different perspectives about the same program. The negative one, interestingly enough, written by a man, and the positive written by a woman. I've seen the first two. The last one's on this evening. Where do I stand on it? Is anyone really interested? I'm going to tell you anyway.
You should try not to stand on your TV.
No,
It can cause them a lot of damage. They're not as sturdy as they used to be when you had the old box
mine's
ones.
early, isn't it? I would have to be a tightrope walker to be able to stand on top of mine. It's so thin.
All right.
So,
Somebody's doing all right for themselves, aren't they?
Steady,
I've got a thin screen TV.
I think you'll find there's far more of them than you may think. Thinner screen, thinner hair. So
I'm in that club as well.
What do I think? I'm between the two, actually. I think it's a program which is a series which has got two riveting performances by Emily Watson as the forensic psychiatrist, and Denise Gough as the victim or perpetrator, actually in this case both, of this terrible crime of driving off a bridge into the water with two children in the back of her car. I won't go. Don't want to spoil that any more than I already have for people who haven't watched it yet. Two mighty performances, absolutely. I find it a little stagey, I have to say. It's like a play at times, and so much of it is the battle between the two main protagonists. But anyway, that's a minor thing. I'm going to watch the third one before I come to my full conclusion about it. I think it's very good. It's not my favourite, but I do think it's very good. And as Lucy Magner says, it's the most woman-centered, woman-driven mainstream production we've yet seen, and that has to be a good thing. So that's Too Close.
I was going to say, it does have the unfortunate position of being on at the same time in the calendar, in the schedules, as in the year, as Unforgotten and Line of Duty and what have you, not back and Borderlands and things like that. It's in amongst a tough crowd.
There should be a place for it, and there is a place for it. But I mean, it is interesting. It seems to be dividing reviewers and dividing viewers as well. But no, it's very difficult to pull off a Line of Duty or Unforgotten. Make no mistake about it. To get that sort of level of success it takes an awful lot. You only have to look at the rare example of something doesn't work. Now, I'm a believer pretty much that if you haven't got anything kind to say about something, then keep stum. Quite difficult.
I don't talk about Piers Morgan on the show.
Up until now. And with that in mind, I did watch Channel 5 crime fiction thing called The Intruder last week. And I'll just leave it there. Because people... It's,
That's right.
I'm not going to say anything about it. There was one good thing about it. Sally Lindsay, she's always good. So, by contrast, it just shows how difficult it is, because there are failures, obviously, in the genre, like there are any other. When it goes wrong, it's very clearly wrong. So the point I'm desperately trying to make here, it's surprising how often makers of crime fiction on drama get it right. Maybe not to the extraordinary levels of Line of Duty and Unforgotten, but there are many other excellent crime series in the UK, and certainly in throughout the world, French, Danish, Scandinavian, American, of course, who provide extraordinary entertainment in the genre. But we do it too. We have our own particular way of doing it, but it doesn't always work. And I think in this week's lineup of programs on the UK television, you have the best and possibly the less than best by contrast as well. Anyway, enough of that. Moving on.
Well, we'll move on to actually, I've got some other what's on TV coming up to talk about in just a moment. We should probably talk about books at some point as well. Partners in Crime is gratefully sponsored by Kobo, which is one of the world's largest ebook retailers. As a listener,
it's huge. Kobo, huge. It's a huge one.
Great books, great people. As a listener to Partners in Crime, you can get a massive 90% off of your first ebook purchase from Kobo. How about that? Just go to kobo.com, find a book you want to buy, and use the promo code CRIME at the checkout, and that will give you 90% off. You don't need an e-reader. You don't need a special device. You can read on your phone or your tablet, but I would highly recommend their wonderful devices too, which is what I do a lot of my reading on. If you're an existing customer, if you've already claimed that code, then follow the link in the show notes for this episode and use the promo code PARTNERS, and you get 40% off of selected ebook purchases for life. How about that? Also, another way you can get some books for absolutely no cost at all, effectively, although you kind of are. I'll get onto that in just a moment, because our patrons help support Partners in Crime as well and keep us on the air, so blame them. They get early access to every episode of Partners in Crime, and they get to watch it in full HD video. They're looking at us right now. They get to access an extra bonus episode each week as well, Partners in Crime Arsenic and Old Lace, which we record after the main show. We'll be doing in just a few moments, as well as a shout out on the show in the week they join, and access to more exclusive content like Moriarty's Musings, which he really needs to do another one of, by the way. I'm sure I'll get a message in just a moment telling me he's forgotten. And also a free book of the month every single month. We'd love you to be our next patron.
Seems to work.
Yes. Follow the link in the show notes.
Free book of the month every single week.
Yeah. Okay, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
You can join today at patreon.com/Partners in Crime podcast, or follow the link in the show notes, because this month's free book of the month, and we have them every month, as Bob says, is an absolute cracker. It's a brand new book as well, which we've managed to nab very quickly. It's The Hashtag Killer by A.S. French. Catch a killer or save a child. What would you do? It's about D.I. Jen Flowers. She's been in the force 15 years, and a vigilante serial killer hits the city using social media to gather supporters. And she has to fight the public, fight the growing crowd, to catch a murderer and save her daughter at the same time. So that sounds like a very high-octane crime thriller. That's The Hashtag Killer by A.S. French. You can get that now on Kobo, or completely free as a Partners in Crime patron. So go to your Patreon dashboard to have a look for that. Or if you're not a patron, then join and you can get it for free. Anyway, CBR...
No, after you. I've got hot news off the press after you, Claude.
Well, yeah, CBR have put out a list of 8 new thriller TV shows and movies to watch this month. This has got an American slant to it, by the way, in terms of networks and things, but almost half of our listenership is now in the States, so hello, welcome. I hope you enjoyed me taking the mickey out of your previous president a few moments ago. Here's some stuff you can watch on the TV over there. Mayor of Easttown is a new mini-series on HBO this month. Mayor as in nightmare, not as in the mayor that runs the shop. Appears to be playing with some of the most... It appears to be playing with some of the most tried and true tropes of crime thrillers, including a worn-out local detective who must team up with a big-time county detective in order to solve a small town's murder mystery. Along with the tragedy of a missing child, the show is set up to explore the tight dynamics of a small community going through a tragedy and media circus. That's on HBO from April the 18th, so very soon. Vanquish is... a bit more of an action thriller with some John Wick vibes, apparently, which is on demand and on digital April 23rd. A brand new film, Tom Clancy's Without Remorse, is based off the novel of the same name. The protagonist, played by Michael B. Jordan, is a deadly soldier who's out for revenge. That's landing at the end of the month on Prime Video. The Believer is less action and more relationship thriller, where a husband realises something is off with his wife, who at first he believes is losing touch with reality. However, things escalate as she refuses to let her husband walk out, threatens to frame him for beating her, and gets physically violent. It's a mystery as to what her endgame is, but it appears she's willing to go to some extreme lengths to get what she wants, much to her husband's dismay. That sounds brilliant. In fact, it's now available on VOD, whatever that is. I'm hoping you've heard of that over there, because I haven't. Netflix's Heard and Seen, about a husband and wife moving into a new house with a dark past, is on April 29th. That premieres on Netflix.
I love that. I always hear that. It's an often used thing. Move into a house with a dark past, and I always think, well, why didn't they pay the electricity bill? It's. But anyway, I'm sure it's very good.
It does sound really good, actually. I'm hoping that lands on Netflix here at the same time, so I want to watch that. Made for Love, the first 3 episodes have already landed on HBO Max. The new series has been regarded very highly, with a 94% critic score and a 93% audience score. It's a kind of a sci-fi thriller, so kind of crime in there as well. That's on HBO Max. Stowaway is another sci-fi thriller taking place in space, about an exploration crew discovering an engineer working on the shuttle before takeoff was injured and passed out. That's on Netflix on April the 22nd. And sticking with the sci-fi thriller theme is Voyagers, which is a chaotic mystery where passengers on the spacecraft give in to their most primal desires. That, I think, is actually a proper film, in inverted commas, because it says it premieres April 9th in theatres. So
yes, it's
there we are.
Based on a package holiday flight to Corfu. Holiday makers giving into the most primal what's-its.
Yes. You've flown Ryanair as well, have you?
Oh, not if I can help. Right, there we are. So just a quick book review, I think, which is sort of basic, because we've done a lot of television film. We've done entirely television film this week. So this is a little bit of a hybrid. It is a book, but I'll just kick off. It's called Bullet Train by Kataro Isaka. 5 killers are on a bullet train from Tokyo competing for a suitcase full of money. Who will make it to the last station? An original and propulsive thriller from a Japanese bestseller, soon to be a major motion picture starring Brad Pitt and Sandra Bullock. There we are, hybrid. Satoshi looks like an innocent schoolboy, but he is really a viciously cunning psychopath. Kimura's young son is in a coma thanks to him, and Kimura has tracked him onto the bullet train heading from Tokyo to Morioka to exact his revenge. But Kimura soon discovers that they are not the only dangerous passengers on board. Naneo, the self-proclaimed unluckiest assassin in the world, and the deadly partnership of Tangerine and Lemon are also travelling to Morioka. A suitcase full of money leads others to show their hands. Why are they all on the same train, and who will get off alive at the last station? A bestseller in Japan, Bullet Train is an original and propulsive thriller which fizzes with an incredible energy as its complex net of double crosses and twists unwinds to the last station. Lots of great reviews from lots of different papers. I won't go into that, but it sounds absolutely great. So really, before Brad and Sandra get their hands on it, Bullet Train by Kataro Isaka. If you want to spend a thrilling time on a bullet train in Japan,
who doesn't?
In your spare time, and let's face it, yes, I'm sure the line for that starts on the left. Get it, Bullet Train, available on Kobo. That was.
Have you checked that it is this time?
A week ago. Sorry.
Have you checked that it is available on Kobo this time?
Yes, no. It will be available on Kobo. If it's not available on Kobo, don't get it.
Don't bother. I wouldn't bother.
Don't bother.
No.
Forget it.
Right.
Anyway, can I just say one thing before we actually leave our listeners?
Yeah,
They haven't already gone. I've just had a message from you, and I just want you to
From
elucidate.
me?
Yes, it just came through. Adam Cross, all it says is, okay, I'm in.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, in the software that we use for broadcasting this, because I sent you one little bit earlier saying I'll be a few minutes late, but it should still let you into the software. And I sent you another one because when I got in there, you weren't there, so I sent you another one to say I'm in.
So I'll get one in a minute saying, "Okay, I'm out."
Yes,
Is
yeah.
that what you're saying? I just wanted
an insight into the backstage.
Yes, the deep and complicated production of Partners in Crime, the podcast that everyone is listening to for no good reason that they can think of.
No. Speaking of which, should we do another episode?
I'd like to do some Arsenic and Old Lace.
That's what I mean, yes. Our special Patreon-only episodes. If you're a patron, do go to your dashboard now and check that out. If you're not, do consider supporting us. You'll... I mean, I shouldn't advertise this, but it will keep us on the air.
Good. Okay, I'm in.
Good for us, not so much for everybody else.
What's new about that?
Right. Same time next week?
Yeah, why not?
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft and Robert Dawes and produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Beisch. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.